This is the Bigscreen Beyond 1. It's been out since 2023 and it's been my daily driver for PCVR since I got it. I personally love this headset, but I know it wasn't for everyone and there were some issues with it that people really didn't like. But now, 2 years later, we have this, the Bigscreen Beyond 2. And when Bigscreen announced this, they made some pretty big claims. Wider FOV, reduced glare, edge-to-edge clarity on the lenses, and a few other things too. So in this video, I want to go through my experience using the Beyond 2, see if the claims Bigscreen have made are true, and ultimately give my conclusion on whether I think you should consider picking up one of these for yourselves. And to be completely clear, I bought the Bigscreen Beyond 2 myself. I am not sponsored by Bigscreen, and my thoughts on this are truly my honest opinion. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. First, you may have noticed this thing is very orange. It's one of the new shell colors available when you purchase a Beyond 2, and I chose the orange specifically because one, it looks friggin' sweet, but also I mainly record on a green screen. And with my Beyond 1, which had this black reflective shell, it would sometimes pick up that green and cause me problems in my editing. Then the other option that I had would have been a clear shell, which would have picked up the green even more, so orange was the obvious choice. But to be honest, I would have picked this orange shell anyways, because it just looks so cool. Anyways, on to the testing. The way I test new headsets is to first get my initial reactions and then do further testing, and the game that I always use for this is Half-Life Alyx. I don't think that should be a surprise to anyone. It's still one of the best looking VR games out there. If you know the game, the level that I specifically use is the Jeff level. I think it's great. It has lots of colors, particle effects, and areas of dark with high contrast. I played the level first on the Bigscreen Beyond 1, really making sure to pay attention to the FOV, clarity, and glare. I then swapped to Beyond 2 to see if I could notice any differences. Oh wow. I don't know if it's just me, but it looks... Oh! Oh shit! Oh, hold on. Ooh, the lenses are good. Right away, I could tell that the FOV had increased on this thing, but more notably, the clarity of the lenses was a significant improvement. Starting with the field of view, like I said, I could tell it was better compared to the Beyond 1, and in my further testing, I found that the field of view increased a fair bit. I used an FOV tester app for this, and I use this app on every single headset that I review. That way I have this pool of data that I can compare to. And a really quick disclaimer for everyone, this is my personal FOV with these headsets. Someone else with a different face shape may get a different result. Anyways, I did the test with the Beyond 2 and my results were 104 degrees horizontal field of view, 92 degrees vertical, and 107 degrees diagonal. And if we compare that to the results I got with the Beyond 1, that's an increase of plus 7 degrees horizontal, plus 4 for vertical, and plus 9 for diagonal. So Bigscreen have managed to boost field of view across the board with the Beyond 2, which is great. I've also done this test with the Quest 3, the Pimax Crystal, and the Valve Index, so let's see how the Bigscreen Beyond 2 compares to those. Horizontal-wise, the Beyond 2 beats the Quest 3 and matches the Crystal, with the Index being the highest. But for vertical FOV, it's at the bottom of the pack, which then I think pulls down the diagonal a touch. Still better than the Quest 3, but not as good as the Pimax Crystal or Valve Index. Moving on, let's talk about the thing that instantly stood out to me when I put this headset on for the first time, and that was the clarity. The lenses on this thing are a massive improvement over the Beyond 1, and if you're thinking about upgrading to this from the 1, this is going to be the major selling point of this headset in my opinion. When I tried this thing on, everything looked much crisper, even the sweet spot somehow. I remember holding a gun up to my hand and just being like, whoa. Now I'm sure some of you are saying, Ryan, you're full of it. The Beyond 2 has the exact same panels as the Beyond 1, so how can the sweet spot be any crisper? Well, I had the exact same thought and I decided to do some further testing. Fortunately, I have a laptop capable of running PCVR, meaning I can run both the Beyond 1 and the Beyond 2 at the same time in the same home environment and hot swap between the two to compare. And when looking at the Beyond 1, it has a small sweet spot, and when you go beyond the sweet spot, it gets blurry, and that blur gets very intense very quickly. But with the Beyond 2, the sweet spot is much larger. Bigscreen have claimed edge-to-edge clarity lenses with this thing, and for me at least, it's pretty damn close. This is me roughly estimating, but if the Beyond 1 sweet spot was 50 to 60% of the lenses, then the Beyond 2 is like 90 to 95%. And then when you get past that 95%, at least for me, there is a tiny bit of blur, but the main difference between the Beyond 2 and the Beyond 1 is that blur stays tiny until the edge of your field of view. Whereas with this headset, when that blur hits, it blurs very intensely. Let's say, for example, you were looking at a wall of text in VR. With the Beyond 2, you'd be able to read text outside of the sweet spot, but with this, the Beyond 1, that was impossible. And I think that's why the Beyond 2 gave me this feeling that the sweet spot was clearer, because the whole field of vision with this lens is clearer. I also think that the Beyond 2 having manual IPD adjustment this time round helped, because I was really able to fine-tune my IPD and get it exactly right. Whereas with the Beyond 1, that had fixed IPD and it went up in increments, kind of like shoe sizes. And you basically just had to pick the IPD that was closest to yours. There was no fine-tuning. And some added bonuses of having manual IPD adjustment in the Beyond 2 is that 1, you can share it with your friends and show them what the VR looks like, and 2, you can sell this thing much easier. As with the Beyond 1, you had to find someone to sell it to that had the same IPD as you. So that's a good change. And I'm actually really glad I ended up doing this test because it showed me a subtle difference between these two headsets. The Beyond 2 has a slightly warmer tint to its image compared to the Beyond 1. I didn't even notice it when I tried this on for the first impressions. It was only when I was hot swapping between these two headsets that I noticed. It is a minor thing, but I still think it's worth noting. Now moving on to glare, the Beyond 1 did have a lot of glare, but for me coming from an Index, it didn't really bother me that much as they're quite similar. With the Beyond 2, there is definitely an improvement, the glare is less intense. Not gone, let me make that perfectly clear, but it is less. Now, onto something I think I should mention if you're thinking about picking up a big screen headset for the first time, because when I got my Bigscreen Beyond 1, this shocked me a bit. The Beyond 1 and the Beyond 2 uses the same micro OLED panels, 2560 by 2560 per eye, with a refresh rate of 75Hz at full res and 90Hz upscaled. No exaggeration, color and contrast with these is fantastic, the best I've ever used in a headset. It's really hard for me to show you in this video format just how much of a difference micro OLED panels make for VR, especially in dark scenes, but I do have a way of giving you a rough idea, so play along with me here. Make sure it's light in your bedroom or simply go outside during the daytime and close your eyes. Obviously it's dark because you have your eyes closed, but you can still perceive light coming through your eyelids, and that's kind of what it's like using a VR headset with LCD panels like the Quest 3. And to simulate the difference of using a micro OLED panel, close your eyes again and then use your hands to cover your eyelids. And that's the difference between an LCD panel that can't turn off its pixels in a dark scene and a micro OLED panel that can. Now imagine that difference in a horror game like Metro when you're in a dark tunnel and there are monsters hunting you. I cannot state this enough, once you've used a micro OLED panel in a VR headset, it makes it really hard to go back. But there is a downside to using micro OLED panels called persistence. It was in the Beyond 1, and because the Beyond 2 uses the exact same panels, it's here as well. But what is persistence? It's almost like ghosting. So if you're looking at something in VR and you're moving your head around, it's almost like there's a slight ghost or after image that follows your vision. And with the Beyonds, you get persistence at 100% brightness. Fortunately, you can get rid of that persistence by lowering the brightness of the headsets. Sensitivity to persistence varies from person to person. I am hypersensitive to persistence, so I had to run my Beyond 1 at 35% brightness, and I run my Beyond 2 slightly higher at 40%. You might see that as a massive downside to these headsets, but the fact that you get a face gasket which is perfectly molded to your face means there's zero light leakage. And because of that, when I put this headset on, my eyes adjust to the level of brightness and the image seems perfectly bright to me. But yeah, I didn't want to make this review and not mention that because it took me by surprise when I tried the Beyond 1. One issue I personally had with the Beyond 1 was fan squeal. Every time I turned this thing on to use it, the fan would make a high-pitched noise. And that noise was loud enough to be picked up by the headset's microphone whenever I talked. So as a content creator, you might understand why I'd find this slightly annoying. It was fixable by simply reseating the face gasket, but I had to do this every single time I used the Beyond 1. And when you're paying for a premium product, that is annoying. But I'm happy to say the Beyond 2 has no squeals so far, so thank you Bigscreen for fixing that, I really appreciate it. Now, some of you may have noticed that I bought the Beyond 2E, which has eye tracking. And to be completely honest, I don't know much about eye tracking tech. As of recording this video, the Beyond 2 does simple eye tracking, if you can even call eye tracking simple. Basically what I mean by that is it doesn't do blinking yet, it doesn't do squinting, it doesn't do eyes widening, it just does eye tracking. I have seen in the Beyond Discord that Bigscreen are working on adding blinking as we speak, but yeah, the eye tracking is in its infancy with this thing, and we should see it improve over time. But yeah, I have tested the eye tracking on this thing, it seems to work fine. I particularly love that Bigscreen have allowed us to see what the cameras see on our computers, which is hilarious and also really gross. And we had quite a bit of fun messing around with that on stream.
I've had an idea. I've had a really dumb idea. How does that look? It's me, Ryan.
But again, to be honest, I don't really play any games or apps that utilize eye tracking. Naturally, that might make you ask, Ryan, why would you pay extra to get an eye-tracked headset when you don't even use apps or games that have eye tracking? And there are two reasons for this. The lesser reason being, if Bigscreen adds foveated rendering support to the Beyond 2, that would be incredibly beneficial. But the main reason, to be completely honest, is a massive gamble on my part. If you follow VR at all over the past 4 years, you may have heard about leaks, rumors, and speculation on Valve's new headset called the Decade. And it's through those leaks that people have uncovered evidence that Valve's new headset will have eye tracking. And this is kind of where my gamble comes into play, because when Valve releases this headset with eye tracking, obviously Steam VR will get a massive overhaul to incorporate eye tracking into the operating system. What I imagine it being is something similar to Apple Vision. And seeing as Bigscreen partners with Valve to make their headsets fully compatible and plug and play with Steam VR, I would hazard a guess that when the Decade releases and Steam VR gets updated with this eye tracking, that Bigscreen headsets might get some of that functionality too. Maybe not straight away when the Decade releases, but definitely down the line. But yeah, it's a massive gamble on my part, I know, but it will be very interesting to see what happens when the Decade gets announced in the next year or so. Regardless, I'm definitely going to try and get my hands on one for review. Then, there's one final thing that you should know before picking up a Beyond 2. This audio strap does not come with this headset by default. This comes with a soft strap, which I personally do not like one bit. So the audio strap for me was a must. It costs $129, I really like it, it's lightweight and the audio quality is good. There is one thing that I don't like about it, which is when you put it on, the speakers get caught on your ears like this when you try and put it on. So basically every time you put this on, you have to push the speakers over this plastic bit like this, and then you can put the thing on, and then you push the speakers back over your ears. Other than that, it's perfect and it's infinitely better than the soft strap. But yeah, to conclude, I do think Bigscreen have made good on their claims of what they were trying to do with this headset. I am super happy with this thing, and I do think with the audio strap, it is one of the best VR headsets I've ever used. I'm probably going to put the words Next Gen VR somewhere in this video, either in the thumbnail or the title, and the reason I consider this headset to be Next Gen VR is this. If we take a look at the Beyond one, I consider this headset to be a proof of concept in a way. That you can have high quality PCVR in this small a form factor. Sure, the lenses and the FOV on this thing were not up to the standards of its competitors like the Pimax Crystal or the Quest 3, but this headset showed us it was possible. But now, with the Beyond 2, it is up to standard with its competitors in terms of its stats. And its incredibly small form factor and low weight is now an advantage with zero compromises, while also having micro OLED displays in it. And that is what makes this a next-gen headset for me. It's genuinely impressive. If someone is serious about PCVR, this is undoubtedly the headset that I'm going to recommend them. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much. I hope this video has helped you become more informed about this headset. Leave a like if you feel like it, or if you're feeling extra spicy, you can hype a video after you like it, and that somehow helps me more. I don't really understand it, but I'd appreciate it if you did. Regardless, there'll be more videos next week, and I hope to see you then. Bye guys.